They say to keep your friends close, but your enemies closer, and I couldn't agree more. That's why one of the first videos I made back in the day was the Three Enemigos, or enemies. Ser, estar, and ir are a tricky group of verbs in Spanish. They're used all the time, almost literally, and are often so irregular they look nothing like themselves. They have no problem looking like each other though. And that was just the present tense. But even back then, I was saying, things start to get really confusing in the past tense. Well, the past tense is now. You know what I mean. But I promise, it's not that hard. The part that gets all the attention is essentially nothing. And the fact that there's so much, yeah, it's a lot, but nothing's difficult if you break it down and focus on one thing at a time. Really get to know that one thing before moving on to the second. What I'm saying is, know your enemies. I'm Ser, I'm Estar, and I'm Ir, and we're the Three Enemigos. Hola, soy Jordan, and this is a Spanish Quickie. Fast, easy Spanish lessons from somebody who speaks your language. Okay, I just said, as I always do, the best way to handle this, ser, estar, and ir in the past tense, is to focus on one thing at a time. But that has a couple meanings now. Obviously, one conjugation pattern of one verb at a time. But also, in this video, we're just talking about the conjugations. The next video is ser versus estar in the past, how to choose between them. So this video is more mechanical than theoretical. Cool? And to get the most out of this video, you at least need to know there are two past tenses in Spanish, the preterite and imperfect, and it's even better if you know both regular conjugation patterns for each, so 4 total. I made a video on every one of those topics, and the links to them all are below this video. So watch those, then come back here, because we're starting with ser, and ser is super irregular. But how are you going to recognize its irregularities if you don't even know the regulars well? That's why most people never end up speaking Spanish. They throw so much at us at once. We don't have the time, or take the time, to learn the regular patterns, so when we get to an irregular, even if there's only one small difference, it seems like a completely new pattern. It's hard and it's frustrating, and most people don't get past it. But don't you be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. In the present tense, the past, all the tenses, take the time to learn your regular patterns for real before moving on. Everything will be so much easier that way. It'll be a different world. And what a great transition to one of the most irregular verbs there ever was, ser. Right away, you need to know the preterite versus imperfect rule of thumb doesn't work with ser and estar. So in this video, I'll say I was, you were, he was, etc. for both words in both tenses, but I'll always make it clear what I'm talking about. Here's ser in the preterite tense. We don't do the normal remove the er from every box thing because ser is so irregular, it's not worth it. We'd have to get rid of ser completely from every box, then replace it with fui, fuiste, fue, fuimos, fuistes, fueron. If you haven't seen this before, it's weird, I know. Fui from ser, I get it, I thought the same. But this is one of those things that seems crazy at first, but isn't hard to get used to at all. Ser as fue is no por versus para, which will haunt us till the day we die. I just noticed though, if you do remove ser from every box and replace it with fu in every box, that's too funny, never noticed that either. So fu in every box, then in these 4 boxes, those are actually the regular preterite er endings. Iste, imos, istes, eron. Who knew? Probably lots of people. Here too, actually, the first person singular, the regular preterite er conjugation is I with an accent, and now for ser, it's I without the accent. And down here, I got nothing. It's just e, which actually is the regular er present tense ending for that box. Interesting. But none of that matters after you know these endings. I'm just showing you some patterns, similarities, and differences to make them easier to remember. Or am I just confusing you more? It's your job to learn these patterns so well through memorization, repetition, and practice, 3 ways to say the same thing, I guess, that you never have to think about this stuff again. You gotta drill it into your head that I was, with ser in the preterite tense, is fui. Normal you were is fuiste. Formal you were is fue. He was or she was is fue. We were is fuimos. Normal you all were is fuistes, only in Spain. Formal you all were is fueron. And they were is also fueron. Not so bad, right? Obviously that's only half of it. Well, half of a third, sorry. Ser is weird in the imperfect too. We can remove s from every box, leaving us with just the er ending instead of removing it. Then oddly, ser in the imperfect gets the regular ar endings from the present tense. Yes, seriously. So even though we're in the imperfect tense, we add present present tense endings, and even though ser is an ER verb, we add AR endings. I know. One little change though. For the yo form, first person singular, change the O to A. Oh yeah, add an accent on the E for the nosotros form, first person plural, and take it off the A in the vosotros form. So the endings for ser in the imperfect tense are a, as, a, amos, ais, an. Basically the regular present tense AR endings. But again, none of that matters. What matters is, deep in your soul, you just feel that I was, with ser in the imperfect now, is era. Normal you were is eras. Formal you were is era. He was or she was is era. We were is éramos. Normal you all were is erais, only in Spain. Formal you all were is eran. Then they were is also eran. Now, I can't lie, I didn't love this one. Era and eras look so much like estar and eres from ser in the present tense. It's so confusing at first, but it doesn't take too much practice before these settle in your soul and you can spend your time on other things, like choosing between ser and estar. And I'm sure you've noticed by now, it's era for the first person and third person singular. Also a little weird, but nothing new if you know your regular imperfect conjugations. And no biggie, era can be I was, or formal you were, or he was, or she was. It's just more likely you'll need to use a subject pronoun. From the beginning, es francés could mean formal you are French, he is French, or she is French. Well, she is French would be es francesa. But you get my point. It's the same with era. Era francés could be formal you were French, he was French, or she was French, but with francesa. And now it can also be I was French. And of course, it's also it was French. Cool? So this is ser in the preterite and imperfect. In neither tense and none of its forms does it look anything like ser. And the preterite ser looks nothing like the imperfect ser. Thanks, ser. You sure don't like to make things easy, do you? We'll get back to ser later, but for now, let's move on to estar. Estar is by far the easiest of our enemigos to conquer. In the preterite, estar has the same endings as tener in the preterite. Yes, an irregular AR verb taking in irregular ER verbs endings. What can I say? It's nice because if you know how to conjugate tener in the preterite, you know how to conjugate estar in the preterite. Remove the ER ending from every box, then replace it with the preterite endings for tener. Ube, ubiste, ubo, ubimos, ubistes, ubieron. I was with estar in the preterite is estuve. Normal you were is estuviste. Formal you were is estuvo. He was or she was is estuvo. We were is estuvimos. Normal you all were is estuvistes, only in Spain. Formal you all were is estuvieron, and so is they were estuvieron. Pretty cool, right? That the preterite ser endings are the same as the preterite tener endings? Well, I've got some more good news for you. Estar couldn't be easier in the imperfect tense, because in the imperfect tense, estar is 100% regular. So remove the AR in every box, then add the imperfect regular AR endings. Aba, abas, aba, abamos, abais, aban. I was, with estar in the imperfect now, is estaba. Normal you were is estabas. Formal you were is estaba. He was or she was is estaba. We were is estábamos. Normal you all were is estabais, only in Spain. Formal you all were is estaban, and so is they were. Here's estar in the preterite and imperfect. So easy compared to ser. In the preterite, estar takes the tener endings exactly, and in the imperfect, estar is 100% regular. I really do love estar, but not ear. I do not love ear. Because you probably heard, in the preterite, ear looks exactly the same as ser does. I have no idea how this came to be. It's just something you gotta get used to. So I went is fui. Normal you went is fuiste. Formal you went or he went or she went is fue. We went is fuimos. Normal you all went is fuistes, solo España. Formal you all went or they went is fueron. And this is what gets everybody's attention. And I'll admit it is super weird that fui can be I was or I went. But really, in almost every situation you encounter in real life, context makes it so abundantly clear which fui is being used. This isn't even a problem. It's nothing. Look. ¿Por qué 2017 fue el mejor año en la historia de la humanidad? Why 2017 was the best year in the history of humanity? Fue definitely means was there, not went. Why 2017 went the best year? Nah, that doesn't make sense. And once you feel in your bones that fue is was and went, it's not hard to know, without even thinking, this fue is was. I had fun with this next one. La estremecedora carta de la madre de Diana Kerr Siempre fuiste la mejor. Even though I'd never seen estremecedora, I still had no trouble understanding this sentence from the context. Or did I? I saw the blank letter from the mother of Diana Kerr, always you were the best. Said more eloquently, the blank letter from Diana Kerr's mother, you were always the best. Obviously, estremecedora means something nice and soft. It's an adjective describing the letter a mother wrote to her daughter saying she was always the best. But since I was gonna make this video, I couldn't be lazy, I had to look up the specific meaning. Loving, maybe? Something like that for sure. Then bam, Google Translate tells me this. Shuddering? I don't know what that means, but it doesn't sound loving. Okay, I get it. Words don't mean words. Without context, who knows what they mean? Not Google Translate, obviously. So I'll give it the whole sentence. Wait, what? Shocking. Why would a letter sent from a mother that said you were always the best be shocking? Cause you just can't trust Google Translate, which is why I immediately went to a real dictionary, whatever that means, and saw this. Heart-rendering. Much better. And what the context in our example clearly tells us. Okay, we got away from ourselves there. I blame you. The original point was, it's not hard to know immediately. Fuiste here means you were, not you went. You always went the best? No. Now ir in the imperfect. Ir isn't regular in the imperfect. Can a verb that's just a verb ending ever be regular? But it's not so far. Remove the IR in every box, then add the regular AR imperfect endings. So yes, AR endings for an IR verb. Aba, abas, aba, abamos, abais, aban. Then change all the leading A's to I's. And those are the imperfect endings for ir, but they're also the full words. I was going is iba. Normal, you were going is ibas. Formal, you were going is iba. So is he was going and she was going. We were going is íbamos. Normal, you all were going is ibais, solamente en España. Then formal, you all were going and they were going is iban. Now here's ir in the preterite and imperfect at the same time. The preterite is the fui, fuiste, fue thing, and on the imperfect side is the iba, ibas, iba thing. And those, ladies and gentlemen, are the three enemigos. It just seems like 6 in the past tense. Let's compare and contrast a little. Here's ser and estar next to each other in both past tenses. Ser in the preterite is just crazy, but not so crazy. Most of those endings are regular actually. These 5 spots are regular except no accent on fui. Ser in the imperfect is really the problem because it looks more like estar than it does itself. Estar, on the other hand, is a fine upstanding verb. In the preterite, it oddly takes the tener endings, not hard at all, but in the imperfect, it's totally regular. Thanks, Estar. You are the man. Or would that be ser? Ugh. Ser and ir look exactly the same in the preterite, the fui, fuiste, fue thing, but as you saw, context almost always makes this not just easy, but non-existent as a problem. Then in the imperfect, ir isn't regular, but it sure feels like it is. Iba, ibas, iba. As you've seen in this video, none of this is difficult to understand. It's just a lot, and they're all so similar and confusing, but I'll just keep saying this and saying this. That's only in the beginning if you do this right, which means focus on one pattern at a time. Do whatever you need to do to get this stuff ingrained into your subconscious. To make it easier, I put together a little Three Enemigos mini course, and I want to give it to you for free. In that course is everything you need to not only understand this stuff, but practice it. There's a cheat sheet with all the conjugations of all 3 verbs in both tenses in one place, blank conjugation sheets, practice worksheets with realistic examples. It's everything you need to get this down so you don't get stuck and can move on to the next thing. If you follow the very specific step-by-step instructions I give you in the Three Enemigos mini course, I'm telling you, these conjugations will never give you a problem again. And I can only say that because I failed Spanish in high school. And even more than that, I'm not a natural. This stuff doesn't come easily to me at all. The instructions I give you in this course, those are the exact steps I personally took to finally slay the Three Enemigos forever. That's it. Click the link below to get immediate access to the free Three Enemigos mini course. Then I'll see you next time. Hasta luego. Adios, amigo.